So what is the topic of this debate, of this controversy? Towards the end of cash. With the end of cash, it doesn't mean the end of cash observations, i.e., to be candid, to be sincere. The end of cash, the end of the euro, the end of currencies, the end of notes that have been in circulation for quite a long time. This is what cash is all about. Is it the end of cash payments? Does everybody pay with cash? But since COVID, people have been using credit cards and they don't use cash a lot. This is the first part of a debate. But what is really interesting in terms of payments and currency history, standards, and the technological changes that have come to the fore. Before we had a currency, cash. You could pay with a bank deposit, with a credit card. Your account will be debited. Now with 5 means or 6 means of payment. So there's an ongoing competition. Bitcoin, stablecoin, and the digital currencies. Central banks were afraid of bitcoins, and they are working on digital currencies. Will there be some token deposits managed by the central bank? So competition will be high. These are not only technical matters, but sovereignty issues. It's about the future of the euro, the strength of currencies, the future of the money that we have in our bank accounts. So these are battles being waged on the planet. And we have the Chinese and the Americans ruling the roost. So we'll be talking about cash-related issues. We'll be talking about different means of payment. Marc Schwartz, who is the CEO of the Monnaie de Paris. The Monnaie de Paris, minting money, so meaning minting collection currencies. You've just issued a currency, La Madonna. If you want to buy a silver or a golden coin, it is not Madonna. This is Marianne. This is the French Madonna. This is the golden Marianne coin that we issued. So Marc has a lot of degrees, Sciences Po school. He worked for the Ministry of Economy. He worked for the Ministry of Culture. That's quite unusual, a very diversified career. He worked for many companies, including media companies such as France Télévisions. And then he set up a consulting firm. He was appointed 8 years ago, he was appointed as the CEO of the Monnaie de Paris. Next to me, Philippe Lalaunie, 62 years of age. He's an engineer. He followed a trade school in Lyon, something quite unconventional. He worked for the School of National Studies, and he's a banker as well. He's at the helm of the GIE bank card, bringing together the French banks. And he will explain to us what his job is all about. On your card, you have, it is mentioned, credit card, but you have either Visa or MasterCard. It's an association between the French and the Americans. So towards the end of cash, That's the question. The French, the Europeans don't want to pay with cash. This is valid in developed and developing countries. In some countries, it was very difficult to get money, cash money. So I think that people will pay with their phones. Is it the end of cash? Answer? I don't think so. I don't think that it is made of cash. It's a kind of counterintuitive opinion. When I joined the Monnaie de Paris company, I was under the impression that I was joining a company that was dying. Cash will disappear. So Sweden is a model. They are heading towards the cashless society. It's modern. It is fully digital, and young people do not use cash to pay. So I was surprised. So I looked at the situation. I've got a degree in economics, so I looked at the figures. And if you look at the figures, the story is different. If we say that cash will vanish, the circulation of cash in the world should diminish. But that's the opposite, in fact. By way of anecdote, The Economist magazine, published in 2007, less than 20 years ago, the cover was the end of the cash era. And there was an illustration. And we're surprised because there was a dinosaur with coins. And the message was, you belong to the era of dinosaurs and you will vanish into thin air. It was in 2007. Cash in circulation, $3,000 billion. So if cash is to disappear, the sum will decrease. Today, this is $10,000 billion times 3. So that's quite surprising. This is what the economists call the paradox of cash. Despite the fact that we don't use cash as much as in the past because we're using credit cards, we've said that it is a controversy, but most of the time with Philip, we have a consensus on many topics, but I will explain to you what this paradox is all about. For those who've followed economic courses, a currency is a means of payment, an account unit. The means of payment have decreased because of the digital revolution. When you have a growing economy, needs will continue to grow. This is for the countries outside of the OECD zones. So we are exporting between 40–60% of our production in Africa, in the Middle East, in Latin America. These countries, they need cash. And secondly, you have to consider the reserve value of a currency. It is quite strong when there are some crises and uncertainties. It's like gold. You said that 2 weeks ago we issued a Mayan golden coin available on our internet site, monnaiedeparis.fr. Don't hesitate to log on. So gold is a refuge value. People will feel reassured with cash. Economists will say that this is a money for a central bank, and it's an official currency. This is something that we witnessed in crises, wars, geopolitical tensions, health crises. Citizens are eager to get more cash, more liquid currency. And we conduct a poll with IFOP, and we estimate the level of trust in liquid money, in cash money, 95%. This is the trust percentage. Access to cash is a pillar of trust. You send a message to all the citizens, to all the savers. You have you have some money on your bank account. This is euro. 90%. And 95% of the payments are being made with credit cards. And for the remaining 10%, the people pay with other means. When you go to a cash dispenser, according to Paul Volcker. So cash was the most useful innovation, the most useful financial innovation. So you have private money in the bank, you withdraw some money, and then you turn it into public money. So by doing that, people will trust the currency of your country. So do you agree with Mark or not? It's not a matter of agreeing or not agreeing. I mean, have a look at the figures. They speak for themselves. More than 95% are using credit cards. We can talk about the future, we can talk about Star Trek, and we need to face reality. If you look at the retail payments on a daily basis, so to the tune of 95%, they are guaranteed by cash to the tune of 43% by the credit card, and for the remainder, mobile types of payments. You have a 2% of checks or 3% of transfers. So we need to bear in mind the figures. Second dimension, you have to consider the technological strides. Scriptural money will encroach upon the currency. The Baltic countries, the Swedes have said that they will be cashless under the pressure of Putin, under the pressure of Trump, but they want to mint money because it's a matter of resilience as well. When you look at the situation, so the French card, it's like a Swiss knife, which is not the case everywhere in the world. With a card where it is mentioned CB, 80 million cards in France, 40 million cards don't have the CB sign. So Mark has made some advertising. So CB, this is sovereign. It was created by Pierre Bergovois in 1984. When CB is mentioned on your credit card, all the transactions in France are being made by CB. Your data will not be resold. It's 10 times cheaper for the dealer, and there is less fraud. So you have co-badging the CB square on the credit card. It is co-badged with Visa or MasterCard, and this co-badge, Visa or MasterCard, is being used when you are abroad. When you conduct some operations in France, it's totally different. So it's sovereign infrastructure. We'll be talking about sovereignty. So bank card and cash, this is sovereignty. It's a Swiss knife with CB being mentioned on your card. You can withdraw some money. The business model is good for the trader, and the business model is good for the citizens because you will be less prone to fraud. And in France, we account for 20% of the European payments. There is not a single company with a 20% market share. So as I told you, moving from cash to local payments to distance payment, they use PayPal. 80% of the distant payments are being made by CB, and you have the wallet, the Apple Pay wallet. With Apple Pay in France, with CB, you are on the CB network. That's important to disseminate this message. It's about sovereignty. Has cash some future? Yes, of course. Of course, you have the scriptural money, you have the wallet, and I think that cash has some future because of sovereignty issues. The end of cash, no. So what's going to happen in the future, and what are the emerging trends? Mark Schwartz, you wrote a book with an economist that is well known, who is well known here, about the future of currency, the battle for currencies. So what about competitors regarding means of payment? Have a look at the history of money. It's about dematerialization. At the start, we had coins. 7th century BC. Then the banknote came in, and when the banknote came in, there was a tipping point towards fiduciary currency money. It's a matter of trust. You need to trust the institution that issues a piece of paper or a coin to consider that it has some value. This is fiduciary money. Then you have the bank money that emerged in the 20th century. You have some money in the bank and you are using a means of payment, first checks, then cards, mobile phones. As Phil pointed out, you put your card into your mobile phone and then you have all the main payment means. There are new things that are coming to the fore. We talk a lot about them, but they don't yet exist. A digital currency, but when you use your mobile phone, when you pay on the street, you don't use digital money. This is bank money that you use. You make some transactions with your payment card on your mobile phone. The digital money of a central bank, it is not a cryptocurrency because these are not currencies. These are potential competitors to the current operators. But today, we don't have that digital currency yet. But there's a new development and a principle that is important in terms of monetary theory, uniqueness and universality. The feature of a currency is an instrument that is accepted by everybody without any problem. No question asked. For example, if I buy bread, I will pay with a €2 coin instead of a card, and you will accept that, and you won't inquire more because this is the official currency. But in the future, if you have lots of means of payment, stable coins, bitcoins, cryptocurrencies, I don't know if you went shopping and try to pay with bitcoins. I mean, it doesn't exist. It's about universality. It's about trust. Money is a common language. It's a tool that is being accepted by everybody. The second principle is uniqueness. With the multiplication of these means of payment, there's a risk of fragmentation of the money and currency and means of payments. Hence, a lack of trust, a lack of confidence. The role of central banks is pivotal, especially when we suffer some crises, especially when banks lend money. So back to the cash problem. Cash is the only form of central bank currency all citizens can get access to. So with a digital currency, there's a risk of money fragmentation, currency fragmentation, hence a lack of confidence. So Bitcoin, at the start, it was a matter of getting a global currency, especially on the blockchain. It's a matter of technical trust. It's very transparent, so you can follow up the transactions of the bitcoins. So that's why the Bitcoin was successful at the start. And other cryptocurrencies were also highlighted, but Bitcoin collapsed. It's just a speculation method, and those who are interested in Bitcoins, I mean, Philip could tell you more about Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is no longer used as a means of payment. It was too volatile when you had to pay for your beef, so they created some stable coins pegged to the dollar. And people in Europe feared that situation. Just telling the story. So in Frankfurt, some work was conducted in order to transition to the digital currency, not the blockchain. I mean, we were confident in the Frankfurt money. And this digital money could set in 29. So that we can move to stable coins that are too much connected with the dollar. It's a matter of sovereignty, as I said. And Philip, you would give us some details. When was it? Not a long time ago, by the way. a judge of the International Criminal Court at The Hague, Nicolas Guillou, he wanted to sue Mr. Netanyahu, and the Americans decided to prevent Nicolas Guillou from using his credit card. So people realized that because of Mr. Trump's decision, we couldn't get access to credit cards. There was a kind of wake-up call. So we are hung by a thread because of Mr. Donald Trump, who decided to block the means of payment. Allow me to add two words: security and resilience. We are responsible for the survival of payments. With a card, the task is to be resilient when there's an attack. I will be talking about this judge, but there might be some crises: cyber attacks, electric attacks, power cuts. This is what we witnessed in Spain. So I want to reassure you, cash is not over, because cash is resilient. So with the National Council of the Means of Payment under the aegis of the French bank and other ecosystems, we manage payments like a plant, like a company. It's like energy, it's like nuclear energy. You have security and resilience. With a credit card, you will be less susceptible to fraud. So if you're under attack, the terminals, for the terminals, I want to make sure that they can work so that people can withdraw some cash. You have people who represent the cash holders. We have to make sure that the cash holders can work. We have to make sure that the bank terminals are full. We have to make sure that the ATMs will work, and we have a sovereign sector. So resilience and security are important. Payment and money are all about means of payment. You have innovation and disruption. So, of course, it's not simply a matter of softwares. So, to cut off the switch, what does it mean? Mr. Trump said, I won't give you the solutions to debug the software so that you can get access to the means of payment. For the Judge Guillou, is different because he was considered a terrorist. So what is important is to have a sovereign network, a sovereign rail. We heard about the digital euro. The European Central Bank said that we will create a digital sovereign card, and the French cards are also sovereign, but 13 countries in Europe have abandoned their sovereignty. So to have a European project, it will be very difficult. Time flies. So, Philip, can you talk about quantum technology? There's a lady who has told us time is up. So the topic that we've just addressed is of critical importance. Currency, money is sovereignty. Controlling your currency or money is a matter of sovereignty. In Europe, 70% of card payments go through American infrastructures. Visa, MasterCard, American Express. You have Google Pay and Apple Pay. So this is something that we need to preserve. Sovereignty has to be preserved. With the French cards, we have to use the digital euro. It is managed by the European Central Banks, and cash. 25 years after the introduction of the euro back in January 2022, cash is the only sovereign payment infrastructure produced in Europe, issued in Europe, and controlled by the European stakeholders. What about the quantum? Quantum technology. So we are talking about the different currencies. So quantum. So technology is not all about AI. So AI is the distribution layer. The genuine revolution will be experienced in a few years' time. There was a revolution with the advent of IT in the 1970s. There was the chip card. France invented the SIM card. So we have CB. It's an industrial story. So we have industrialists. Bitcoin came in 2008. There were some libertarians who said we will create a different currency, not being dominated by the states. But what about quantum disruptive technology? Cryptocurrencies, they are based on some currencies that could be broken in 5 or 10 years, or even some of them are already broken. But for payments, one of the key discussions when it comes to securing our payments, how can we adapt ourselves to the post-quantum technologies that will come to the fore? So last week, as part of a board meeting, we've launched the manufacture of the post-quantum chips, and we should be ready in 2030, 2031. China, the United States, if they are ready before us, it means that all the safety keys of cryptography won't be well managed. We are using them for the defense industries, and we don't want these keys to be broken. So our friends who are at times our enemies might break the keys. So the AI sector should be furthered. Remember, we created a bull a few years ago, and the nuclear submarines, they are working with bull assets. So we need to help our AI companies, our quantum companies, especially Mistral, so that they can help us secure our payments. And what is important to us is to continue to pay with cash. Don't forget, to log on to my site, the site of my company, monnaiedeparis.fr. Thank you.